Goodness me, this is really harrowing stuff. I mean, is this just a mass human rights violation by China?
I think clearly it is a huge human rights violation by how the Chinese government, and Beijing in general, treat people under the COVID pandemic. Like, it has been strictly following its zero COVID measure without actually taking into regard basic human dignity and basic human needs. For example, the way that they're treating people with COVID or those who are tested positive is like undesirable, and the way that they're treating other people inside the communities by putting them in strict lockdown, not even going out for necessities and different things. And if you go out or if you actually voice concerns and opinions on the internet, you could be arrested for just saying that you are not okay with the COVID policy in China. So the whole situation is not a COVID problem, but in general is a fundamental structure of how the CCP functions in the PRC.
I mean, but what about those within Western societies that have pushed for zero COVID? I mean, many critics said that it would lead to authoritarianism, and this is kind of what we are seeing right now in China. I mean, does this vindicate the lockdown skeptics in some sense that have worried that actually hardline kind of COVID maximalist policies could lead to this kinds of scenes that we're seeing?
I think it's a very complicated question and can't be answered like in simple a yes and no. The main distinction, I think, between PRC and the Western world is that most of the Western countries have a very solid democratic system and a democratic tradition, while in PRC there's not. It's a one-party dictatorship system, meaning that there is no way to keep them check and balance. There is no way to hold them to account for what they're doing to their people. But in Western society, for example, in Germany right now, there is at least a functioning legislature and a functioning judicial system that can actually help to keep the government in check and balance. And there's also the right to like run the media, but that's not possible in China. So I don't think Shanghai or China in general is a case that proving skeptics of lockdown right, but I think it does indicate lessons that we might have to observe and learn from.
Yeah, and I've seen some pretty harrowing videos of pets being killed and slaughtered en masse. It's like a kind of pet genocide that's taking place, as far as I can tell, over there. I've also started to see videos of people protesting, and as just given the very nature of China, as you said there, it is a bit, it must be a very big thing for people to make that decision. What are the chances, just quickly, sorry, what are the chances, do you think, of there being some kind of uprising?
I think I don't have a crystal ball, so I don't actually know what's going to exactly happen in the future. But I do see a trend of people in Shanghai, especially, voicing out their concerns on the internet. And that's actually very rare. First of all, because they have a very strong censorship system. There are people working 24/7 trying to control what people talk about. But there are a lot of tweets and Weibo and other social media platforms in China that are available for people to see that they are talking about how discontent they are towards the Chinese COVID policy. And at the same time, I think they have realized there are so many creative ways that they can use. For example, there was a trending search on their social media platforms as talking about the US being the major human rights deficit country. But all of the tweets, the content are basically very sarcastic, that they're actually talking about China. But they swap the word China with the US so that it can circumvent the censorship system. So I do see people are getting more and more creative. And there is a chance that there are opposition happening right now, and there have been a lot of protests, and not only Shanghai, but in different Chinese cities throughout the years, even though Beijing is very hard on controlling its people. So I do think there is a chance, but I'm not sure how likely is that to happen very soon.